Come and listen to a story of an Ozark Mountain family whose fortunes surprisingly and drastically change. Before the dust can settle, this family of four find themselves amongst the socialites of Southern California. If you watched any television from the 60s into the early 70s, you would definitely recognize that this is a storyline of the TV series The Beverly Hillbillies. For those of you familiar with the series and its main characters, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you close your eyes and remember? Is it Granny cooking victuals and her seamlessly endless threatening of Jethro? Speaking of Jethro, is it the endless career search and his total ignorance and stupidity? Maybe it's Ellie Mae with her critters and that tomboy spirit of hers. Do you remember the head of the clan, Jed Clampett? Though he lacked education, he possessed a well of common sense. And what about wee doggy? Whatever it is that you may remember about the show or cherish about it, here are a few interesting facts that you may not know about. The critics absolutely hated this show. From the show's beginning, it received poor reviews and criticism. The New York Times called it a strained and unfunny show. Variety wrote that it was painful to sit through. One critic even savagely wrote that if television is America's vast wasteland, the Hillbillies must be Death Valley. Some considered it one of the worst TV shows of all time. And for some critics, it was not only hated, it was despised. The show had extremely high ratings. In spite of the critics' opinions, the show was received extraordinarily well by the American television watching audience. As a matter of fact, the Beverly Hillbillies reached the number one spot in the Nielsen ratings just 3 weeks into its first season. To this day, it is the fastest rise to number one of any show in television history. It managed to stay there for a record-breaking 2 seasons. It remained in the top 20 for 8 seasons, only dropping out during its 9th and final season. During its 9-year run on CBS, the series earned 7 Emmy nominations. The series was, in its prime, one of the most watched shows in the U.S., with around 60 million viewers. Season 2 had the highest ratings ever for a half-hour sitcom. The 8 episodes that aired following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy were some of the most watched half-hour shows in TV history. Now, where did the idea of the show come from? Well, while visiting the South and touring Civil War sites in 1959, the show creator, Paul Henning, came up with this brilliant idea. His concept of the show was the move of someone from the South to a totally different way of life in an upper-class community. The initial plan was to set the series in New York, but because of the cost considerations and logistics, the location was changed to Beverly Hills. Henning himself was the writer or co-writer for over 200 of the 274 series episodes. He based much of his writing on past experiences while camping in the Ozarks near Branson, Missouri. The theme song made the Billboard Hot 100. The show's theme song was titled The Ballad of Jed Clampett. It was originally sung by the country and western singer Jerry Scroggins, and it featured the bluegrass musicians Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. The duo made 7 cameo appearances on the series. The song's lyrics became the show's trademark and was recognized for its popularity. It remained on the Billboard country music charts for 20 weeks, 3 of which it was at number 1. For the year 1962, it landed at number 44 on the Billboard Hot 100. Creator Paul Henning wrote the music and the lyrics to the song. Buddy Ebsen and Nancy Culp did not get along. Actress Nancy Culp, who played Miss Jane Hathaway, Mr. Drysdale's secretary, and Buddy Ebsen, the actor who played Jed Clampett, were known for not getting along. Their behind-the-scenes arguments mostly involved politics. Nancy and Buddy were at the opposite ends of the political spectrum. Their relationship issues continued far beyond the show. At the age of 62, Nancy ran for a U.S. representative seat in her home state of Pennsylvania. During the campaign, Buddy bashed her in a radio interview, calling her too liberal. He even supported the Republican opponent, incumbent Representative Bud Shuster. Culp lost the election and was bitter towards him because of what he had done. There was double duty for Max Baer Jr. During the first season, actor Max Baer Jr. played double roles, both as Jethro and his twin sister Jethrine. Because Max's voice was not convincing as a female, Linda Henning, the daughter of the creator, provided Jethrine's voice. Max Baer's acting career was ruined. Maximilian Baer Jr. had a tough time finding gratifying acting work after the Beverly Hillbillies ended. He found himself continually typecast because of the well-known portrayal of Jethro Bodine. To turn things around for himself, he moved from in front of the camera to behind the camera. He focused on writing, directing, and producing films. Granny's Beverly Hillbillies Cookbook was created. It is still possible to cook up some of the old-fashioned victuals that would make Granny proud. In 1994, a Granny-inspired cookbook was put together, published, and released. It is filled with recipes, photos, character profiles, and lighthearted humor to help the fans remain connected to the show. Used copies of the cookbook actually sell on Amazon beginning at $50. John Wayne had a guest appearance on the show. During the show's 5th season, John Wayne made a short but sweet guest appearance. In the episode entitled "The Indians Are Coming," Granny kept mentioning her hopes that country star John Wayne would show up and help fight them Injuns. At the end of the episode, John Wayne actually shows up, and Granny's dream comes true. Later, when he was asked what he wanted to be paid, he can best be remembered by answering with, "Give me a fifth of bourbon, that'll square it." Model and actress Sharon Tate appeared 15 times as Janet Trigo, a secretary at the Commerce Bank. Many of her fans didn't recognize her at first because she wore a brunette wig for the role. This role was one of the many that were selected for Sharon to help develop her acting skills. Now, if you'll remember, Sharon Tate is one of the ones that was killed by the Manson family in August of 1969. At the time of her death, she was 8.5 months pregnant with her first child, a son by her husband, Roman Polanski. One can only imagine the shock and disbelief that the rest of the cast experienced when the news of Sharon's death came out. The Beverly Hillbillies was not the original name of the show. The original title of the show was The Hillbillies of Beverly Hills. This title was only seen in the opening of the original pilot episode. In the second episode, it was changed to the Beverly Hillbillies. Although Petticoat Junction, Green Acres, and the Beverly Hillbillies were still successful series, advertisers, though, were wanting to reach a different demographic. They were looking for richer, younger urbanites. The Beverly Hillbillies was part of what became known as TV's Country Purge. This made way for urban setting shows like The Mary Tyler Moore Show, The Bob Newhart Show, and All in the Family. Although it's sad to say goodbye to such a beloved show, it's nice to look back and remember the joy and all the laughter it brought to so many. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all come back now, you hear?